Okay, I just found this quote a few days ago while I was scrolling on TikTok or Pinterest. I wrote it down on my little notebook. That quote says, "A bad day for you is just another day in someone else's." I feel like this is the quote or the saying I've been looking for my whole life. I feel like when I'm having a bad day, when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm grieving, people's life just keeps on moving on. And I don't know whether to grieve or to catch up with their timeline and ignore my feelings. When I try to do both at the same time, it just makes me have more anxiety and it splits my brain or the way I process into two. And it feels like I'm multitasking in my head. Do I grieve? Do I be depressed? Or do I catch up with people's timeline? And they are constantly fighting because I don't know how to regulate both of these emotions. And I'm sure that you have felt this type of way too. And I'm going to connect it with an issue that I think we all have, which is anxiety, um, depression, and I feel like everybody goes through this, and which is why I want to talk about it. Talking about this isn't easy. Depression and anxiety can varies for different people, but I just want to tell you that if you relate to this, you need to listen to this very carefully, and no matter what age you are in, these things happen to everybody. It can go from layer to layer. The surface layer is just depression or anxiety, and the deepest layer would be grief, and I will be talking about both. So let's repeat the saying one more time. A bad day for you is just another day in someone else's. Let's imagine a scenario where your dog died and this dog had lived its life with you. He had grown up with you, he had known everything about you, and every time you have a fight with your mom, with your dad, you go to that precious dog and you tell them that you hated your parents, that you don't want to talk to them ever again. And when you have some issues with your friends, with your boyfriend, you go to that dog and you tell them all of your story. You put your energy into that being, and then suddenly one morning it just dies. It's lifeless, and you're depressed and you're grieving. While you are working, you still go to work. You leave that dog or you bury them, and then you go to work and then you tell them, like, you tell your coworkers or your friends, like, oh, my dog just died. And all they can say is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And they think taking you out to lunch would be a good idea. So they take you out to lunch, and in the back of their mind, in the back of their head, all that they wanted to say was, or all that they were thinking about this whole entire time is, okay, how do I bring up the fact that they need to finish their deadline today? Because people's life just keeps on moving on. It's not that they don't care, but it's just because people have different lives. We have different experiences, and people's life are not yours. All that to say is that you don't need to catch up with people's timeline. But how do you deal with this issue when you are feeling one type of way, but you have a responsibility that you need to do, that you need to finish? How do you deal with it? And I don't have a concrete answer, but when that happens, when your brain splits into two, thinking, should I be depressed or should I grieve? So your head don't constantly smack and fight against each other, is you need to be present. How much has it taken a toll on me, and how much has it ruined me, or how much is it making me depressed? Identify the scale of your feelings and decide to go from there. I feel like it's best to first process the feeling alone. When you're with somebody, you might bias your feelings, depends on how you think they will react. So you let out all of these different emotions, and maybe it's not how you usually do things. So you bias your emotions or your feelings or whatever it is. Depends on how you think the person will react or how they will respond. Always grieve alone. If you're depressed, if you have issue with school, process those emotions alone. Write them on paper and identify those feelings. How do I really feel? And once you have found your needs, I need to have a stable life. I need to heal. I need to have a better mental health, let's say. And these needs, you put them into feelings. And then you identify, what do you need to do in order to achieve those needs? I need to regulate my feelings and I need someone to help me. I need to talk to someone instead of just killing myself in my bed and rotting. So that's what you need to do. Identify, see what your needs are, and then go, or I guess proceed with how you want to achieve those needs. And if it's a person, then be it. If it's your parents, then be it. And then from there, you will find the answers that you have been looking for. When you are experiencing these things, again, I will repeat this one more time, you don't need to achieve, you don't need to constantly catch up into people's timeline, because the way you process might be different with other people's. So if you catch up with people's timeline all the time, you are not going to have any time for yourself. And it's the most crucial thing one can do for oneself. And that to say, if your brain splits when you have two responsibility or two needs that you need to do, sit down and be present. And I feel like the answer is all within yourself. And even though a bad day for me is just another day in someone else's, it's always not a good idea. It's always not a good idea to push other people to catch up with your timeline. And it's never a bad idea to have a little bit of empathy to people, to ask how they were doing, put the deadlines aside, and accompany them through these feelings, because your feeling is 100% valid and all the other things are just extras. Put people as a priority. So if you or your friends are going through something, please be there for them, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know how much they really need somebody, even though you have experienced the shitty things that they did. But it's the most important that you be there for them. You don't need to catch up with their timeline, but you need to know what timeline they are in. You need to know how they're feeling and what you can do to help. Talk to someone.